Christmas Fiesta and why Governor Ortom must apologize to the Fulanis by Prince Enenche. It is becoming clearer by the day to every Benuendigen and Nigerians, Governor Samuel Ortom's hypocritic content, politicization and commercialization of the herders' killings in Benue State. The death of every Nigerian or human being is condemnable. But where some persons embalm it with political interests to fester their ambitions is also unacceptable. But what has hit consistently hard in the much-publicized herders and farmers clashes in Benue State is Gov. Ortom's shadowy manipulations or outright sponsorship of the killings to veil his leadership deficiency in the 4 years of governing the state. The governor has designed it to hoodwink unsuspecting indigenes of the state into blindly voting him for a second term in 2019. Therefore, Ortom has devoted much energy into negative profiling of the Fulani ethnicity and campaign of calumny against an entire race. Gov. Ortom is also a cattle rearer and has the highest number of cattle in Benue State, just like his friend, the PDP presidential candidate, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who leads in number of herds in Nigeria. The wisdom of casting aspersion on the Fulani tribe is difficult to understand. In fact, herding is a livestock business practiced by all ethnicities in Nigeria and the world. But how Ortom and his negligible apostates have infected their senses to reduce the problems associated with cattle herding in Benue, Nigeria to an exclusive Fulani affair baffles endlessly. In pursuit of this demonic agenda against the Fulani, Ortom has contrived an array of antics to demarket the Fulanis and promote his 2019 re-election project. He consciously defames the Fulanis by branding them killers, murderers and invaders on annexation of the ancestral lands in the Benue Valley. The governor cannot justify any of these claims beyond the peripheral entrepreneurial and political values he has crafted to service his selfish motives. So, quite ironic, he vilifies President Muhammadu Buhari as a Fulani, but courts another Fulani man, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, who he is serving as his 2019 campaign coordinator, North Central Zone. Such posturing is unveiling the vaunted secrets behind the farmers and herders clashes as well as the ensuing killings in the state. Ortom reminds Benue of his double-faced portrait on the herders' killings. And his simple, but the unexpressed message is that aside propagating the herders' menace to gain political mileage against opponents in the 2019 governorship race, he knows what is reeled out from his camp is baseless propaganda against Fulani. Former governor of Benue State and senator, representing Benue Northwest Senatorial District in the National Assembly, Senator George Akum has reiterated at several fora that Gov. Ortom is responsible for the herders' killings in Benue State. Even recently at a party function in Makurdi, the bold and audacious Senator Akum alleged that Gov. Ortom is the leader promoting the herders' killings in the state through his livestock guards, led by a repentant Boko Haramists, Alhaji Allah Tashaku. Ortom shares clannish ties with Tashaku. Akum had thundered that when Tashaku was arrested with 5 others over the killing of 2 Catholic priests and 17 parishioners in Mbulam, Greast LGA of Benue, charged to court and remanded in prison custody, the tempo of the herders' killings in Benue to point of vanishing. How Tashaku regained his freedom after months of incarceration remains a mystery. But barely 3 weeks after his release, the herders' killings in Benue resumed again. It blends too perfectly to be assumed as coincidence. Akum has ceaselessly prodded Gov. Ortom to answer this fundamental question. But the governor shirks each time he is confronted. The best he has ever done are threats to drag Sen. Akum before Igertamen, the Tiv Supreme Assembly. But a conscience haunted by guilt has not freed him to embark on such a futile exercise. As a cattle rearer, Gov. Ortom allegedly romances with Mediala in secret. He reportedly attends their meetings and pays levies. The governor is only anti-Mediala in the daytime to promote his political ambitions, but a staunch member of the group at nights. He has allegedly sworn an oath to protect their business interests in the state. And the governor religiously adheres to these commitments. Many may not understand. But in the aftermath of the herders' massacres of Benue people in Guma and Logo LGAs on New Year Day, January 2018, pressure groups and originators of the anti-open grazing law like Mafo and Ventim sent out an appeal to all Tiv people to desist from consumption of beef from Fulani cattle, as subtle protest against the gruesome killings. This voluntary rule has been substantially obeyed throughout Tiv land. It has gravely reduced the market of cattle in Benue state. The profit decline to cattle rearers has been impactful. It is alleged Mediala tabled the issue in one of their meetings, which had Gov. And he promised the leaders to resolve matter gradually. It is, therefore, not a coincidence that Gov. Ortom flouted with impunity the Mafo appeal against consumption of Fulani cows during the 2018 Yuletide. Fulani cows were the major gifts Gov. Ortom generously dished out to people during the Christmas, a Christian feast which commemorates the birth of the Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. A leader committed to the opposition to Mediala as Gov. Ortom feigns and preaches everywhere should not have been in the forefront of violating the Mafo restriction on consumption of cows. He deliberately danced to the tone of his covert Mediala leaders. So, when it pleases him, he mounts the podium with sermons of Fulani herders killing Benue people to score cheap political points. Ortom has not attempted to answer the questions posed to him by Sen. Akum over Tashak, who implies that he is the sponsor of the herders' killings in Benue state for selfish political pursuits. And it is gleaned from the reality that as a governor who cannot pay salaries and pensions, including select payments in December 2018, and his zero rating on capital projects, re-election for him is glaringly elusive. Therefore, blackmailing the Fulanis, an entire race over killings to gain public sympathy for his re-election bid is no big deal. The truth would continue to solder into the open to illuminate hearts charmed by Gov. Ortom's satanic agenda on Benue. Now that part of this truth is unveiled by Gov. Ortom by his violation of Mafo restriction on beef consumption from Fulani cows, he should demonstrate the virtues of a true Christian he claims by apologizing to the Fulani folk. Enenche wrote from Kurdi, Benue state.